Hi everyone! In this video, we're going to be looking at solving some percentage problems, and these ones are going to be about finding the percentage of an amount. So let's get started. Alfonso received $235 for his birthday. Alfonso used 25% of his birthday money to buy a new sweater. How much did Alfonso spend? So just like we were previously doing, we can also solve these with some pictures or some models. So let's start off with this main part here, the 25%. So 25%, the word for percent, if we write it in words, is percent. And the word per is what we talked about with unit rates, so for every. And cent here means 100. So it's like saying 25 for every 100. So 25% can be written as a ratio of 25 to 100. And remember, ratios can also be written as fractions. So I could also write this as 25 over 100. Okay? So we learned that ratios can be written as fractions, and there's that relationship. So remember, we can also simplify our ratios. So if we wanted to simplify this ratio, what can we divide both sides of this ratio by? Well, we can actually divide both sides of this ratio by 25. So if I divide both sides of this ratio, I'm going to do 25 divided by 25, which is 1, and 100 divided by 25, which is 4. So the percentage of 25% is the same as the ratio of 1 to 4. Or if we think about it as in a fraction, it's also equal to 1 over 4. And then if we think back on when we first started learning about ratios, we talked about how ratios can compare different things. We talked about how it can compare a part to a part, but it can also help us compare a part to a whole. So in our case here, the 25%, or 25 over 100, or 25 to 100, that's comparing a part to a whole. So in that sense, the numerator we know is the part, and we know that the denominator is the whole. So we can draw actually this picture as a fraction. So if we wanted to draw the fraction of 1/4, well, we would want to draw a picture that has 4 parts. So let's draw that. So let's go 1, 2, 3, 4 parts, and just make this now into my rectangle. And we can now start labeling this model now that we know how many parts we have, because we made this 25% into a ratio. So it says Alfonso received $235 in total for his birthday. So we, just like before, we can label our model. So this entire thing is $235. And it says that he used 25% of his money. Remember, we just said that the part was 1, the whole was 4. So that means 25% represents just one of these pieces. So we can color in just one of these pieces because that represents our 25%. And we can also label this as like sweater because that's what he bought it for. And then we want to know how much did Alfonso spend. So what are we trying to find out? Well, we're trying to figure out the sweater. So that can be our question mark here. So now what can we do? Well, in our picture, 235 is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4 boxes. So we're going to have to do 235 divided by 4. So let's work that out. So we can do long division. 4 and 235. 4 doesn't go into 2, but 4 goes into 23, and it goes into it 5 times. 4 times 5 makes 20. Subtract, we get 3. Bring down, I get 5. How many times does 4 go into 35? It goes into it 8 times. 4 times 8 is 32. I'm going to subtract, and I get 3. Next step is to bring down, but I haven't gotten to 0. So remember, we have a decimal point here, and I can bring down a 0. And 4, how many times does 4 go into 30? It goes into 37 times. 4 times 7 is 28. Subtract, I get 2. I still don't have 0, so I can bring down another 0. And now I have 20. How many times does 4 go into 20? It goes into it 5 times. 4 times 5 is going to be 20. Subtract, and now I get 0. So here I can see that from that division, I got 5875. However, remember, we want to do a little bit of estimating here to figure out where the best place is for our decimal. So if I estimate here, I was trying to do 235 divided by 4. I'm just going to round that to 200 divided by 4. And if I estimate that, that's going to be close to 50. So that means if I'm trying to think about what place makes the most sense for my decimal, it's going to be 58.75. So how much did Alfonso spend? So we just figured out that inside each of these boxes is 58.75, 58.75, and we can keep going. And now, remember in our picture, we just have the one piece that's highlighted. So this is what we need to know. That's how much the sweater is. So we can answer our final question with Alfonso spends $58.75 on the sweater. Lucia sells dancing shoes at her boutique. She buys a pair of shoes from a distributor for $22. When she sells them, she increases the price 30% more. How much money is she earning per pair? So again, the first thing we're going to take a look at is the percentage that's here. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to create this as a ratio. Remember that 30% means 30 to 100. And what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to simplify this ratio. So it would be beneficial if you guys try to simplify this ratio and see what you get. So take a moment to pause to figure out what 30 to 100 is simplified. All right, did you notice that both of these could be divided by 10 is the biggest number that we could divide both of them by? So 30 divided by 10 is 3, and 100 divided by 10 is 10. So now when we see this, we have 3, which represents the part, and the 10, which represents our whole. So we're going to draw a model that has 10 pieces to make the whole, and we're going to color in 3 parts. All right, so here we have our model. We have 1, 2, 3 pieces that are colored in. This is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 total parts. So now we can continue labeling our model. So it says here that she buys a pair of shoes from a distributor for $22. So this is telling us how much the shoes are. So we can label this in our model that this entire thing is $22. And then it says when she sells them, she increases the price 30% more. So she wants to increase the price of the shoes that she has, and she wants to take 30%. So she wants to know what these 3 pieces are. So this is the amount that she's going to earn extra when she sells her shoes. So this is now her earning. And this is now going to be what we don't know, so we can use a question mark. So what we can notice now is that all of this is equal to 22. So we're going to have to figure out how much each part is here. So to figure out how much just one part is, we're going to have to do some division. We're going to have to figure out what 22 divided by 10 is. So we could do this by long division. So we can put 22 divided by 10. How much does 10 go into 2? It doesn't. How much does 10 go into 22? It's going to be 2 times, and then I have 20 because I multiplied 10 times 2 is 20, and then I have to subtract. Now, notice that I need to bring down as my next step. I don't have anything here, but I can put a decimal and I can bring down a 0. So how many times does 10 go into 20? Well, it goes into it 2 times. 10 times 2 makes 20 again. Subtract, and now I get 0. So now it's telling me that 22 divided by 10 is 22. Wait a minute, does that make sense? Well, if we estimate 20 divided by 10, well, that's equal to 2. So that means I need a decimal somewhere. So where's the most logical place to put our decimal? Well, yeah, that's right. It's going to be 2.2. So now we can label the inside of our model that each one of these pieces is 2.2. All right, so now that our model has everything inside labeled with 2.2, we want to know the earnings, and the earnings is just 3 of these pieces. So we have to add up, or we can do multiplication. We have to take what the quantity is of this part. So what we can do is we can do 2.2 times 3. Now, we can estimate that 2 times 3 is equal to 6. So my answer should be close to 6. I'm going to do multiplication, even though I know most of you can add these up quite nicely. But we're going to do multiplication just so we can practice how we could do multiplication. So what I'm going to do to multiply, since I already estimated that 2 times 3 is 6, I'm just going to multiply this without the decimal. So instead, I'm going to make it like it's 22 times 3. So now 2 times 3 is 6, and then I go to the next digit, 2 times 3 again is 6, and I get 66. But we know, just because we did our estimate, it doesn't make sense. It can't be 66. So we know that the best place to put our decimal then, if our estimate is 6, is going to be in between 6.6. So now that we have that, we can actually write our sentence. So she earns $6, and if it's 0.6, it's like saying 60 cents per pair. So let's just take a look at the 2 problems that we just solved. I want you to notice the similarity in the way that the problems were set up. Notice, for both situations, we created the number of boxes depending on our percent that we had in the problem. So here, we took a look at 30%, and we figured out this as a ratio. And then the second number here, the whole, is going to tell us how many pieces to draw in total. The part told us how many we colored in. Same thing here. We had our ratio 25 to 100. We simplified. We had 4. This is going to be our whole, and 1 is going to be the part. Notice that I had 4 pieces drawn, and 1 piece colored in. Another similarity I want you to notice that we're given the total amount of the entire picture. So here this one says 235, and this one said all of it was 22. And the other thing I wanted you to notice that the question mark, the thing that we don't know, is a part. So notice it's only some of the entire thing. Some of the entire thing. So that's why this one is called finding the percentage of an amount. The amount is actually the amount of the entire whole, which is right here. So this is a small percentage of the entire whole, a small percentage of the whole. So this is like saying that 58.75 is 25% of this amount of money. And in this case, this represented 30%. So $6.60 represents 30% of all of this money, or of $22.